Hi everybody, Jessie here. I'm here with a quick card for you all. I'm using the Tell Your Story 6x6 pad from Teresa Collins. And I'm also using this itty bitty Unity stamp set. It's the one that You Want My Heart. With the little popsicle on it. So that's what we're using. I've already pre-scored and folded my card base. So this is just a white piece of paper. It's cardstock from Staples. I cut it vertically at 4 1/4, scored it at 5 1/2, which gives me a perfect A2 card. My first layer has been cut 1/8 of an inch smaller, so it is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. My second piece is cut 3/8 of an inch smaller than that, which would put me at 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And I'm just going to adhere that directly on top of here. Get it nice and centered. There you go. And then I dropped it down 1/8 of an inch again, so we're at 3 5/8 by 5 7/8 for this piece. And we'll just put that on top as well. This way. And I just find that using a solid piece of cardstock, for me, breaks up the patterns enough that they aren't directly touching each other. And it just seems to make it all flow together a lot easier for me, as opposed to having the patterns papers touching each other. Lots of people do that. It looks fantastic, don't get me wrong. It's just, I can't seem to do it and have it look good for me. So I've also got here, this is just satin ribbon. I'm just going to cut off a hunk of it here. Do I want a bow? No, we don't need a bow. I'm just going to go like that, and I'm going to take a piece of my 1/4 inch score tape. So this is just, score tape. And I'm going to run it the entire length of this piece of ribbon. Ooh, hey. If it cooperates here. The nice thing about this stuff, as most of you know, is it rips. So it's real easy to break off at the end. Then we're going to pull off the tape backing. And I made this piece of ribbon far too long, so I'm just going to put it so that I don't have to have, we'll go down here. So I don't have to have that funny crease end up on the face of my card. And the rest I'm just going to tuck in behind. And this will even cut off. Just fold that. And then I'll take a small piece of masking tape. Sometimes I use green painter's tape, sometimes I use Scotch tape. It depends on whatever's closest to me. And I just put a piece over top. That helps my ATG or my glue runner or whatever I'm using to adhere it to my card base stick to it a little bit easier. Okay, and then what I have here, I stamped this on Express It cardstock with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And this is just the little popsicle out of the stamp set. And I've pulled out 3 of my Copic markers. I have YR04, 07, and 09. And we're going to color that in with them. I'm not being super careful when it comes to going to the outsides here, because I'm going to do something different right around it. So that was my 4. Then I'm just going to come in with my 9, or with my 7 here. Add a little shading to it. And then just a real fine line with my 9. I am definitely not the best Copic person, so don't quote me on anything I do. I just play and I like them, so. Now I know that the gap between the 4 and the 7 is fairly big, but I'm fingers crossed that they'll blend out okay. I can see that. I'm just going to go in and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And then my 7. Then my 9 again. And go back through them and blend them all back out. Okay. Oops. So you can see that. Then around this outside, I'm going to do the same colors, but I'm going to skip the 4. And I'm just going to use the 7 and the 9. So I am going to color a little more carefully here because I don't want it bleeding out around those lines on the edge. There's probably a far easier way to do this for those of you that use these all the time still. But like I said, I'm learning. I'll get the hang of it. And then with the 9, I'm just going to go in and add like a tiny little bit of it. Just to give it a bit of a shadow, because I don't want to leave it with nothing because I shaded the entire inside and that would just look silly. And just go through and ever so slightly blend those out. Pardon me, I was probably mumbling there. I just said I was going to go back and slightly blend them out. Okay, so that's now our popsicle, which I'm going to now layer onto, this is 1/8 of an inch bigger. This was 1.5 by 2.5, so this ends up being 1 3/8 by, or no, 1 5/8 by 2 5/8. And I'm just going to adhere that down on top. Actually, I think, hang on, let me put this on. I do believe I actually went 1/4 of an inch bigger, yeah. Which means it's 1 3/4 by 2 3/4, pardon me. And then my white piece is 1/8 of an inch larger than that, so it'll be 1 7/8 by 2 7/8. Okay. So we've done that. Right, and then I've got, here's the quote from it, so it says, "You melt my heart." And I'm just going to cut that into a banner. I'm just going to freehand it. Okay. And this is 1/2 inch. And then this pattern piece is 3/4 of an inch larger, so it'll be 3/4 of an inch. And I just stick that on top, and then I freehand it from there. That way I don't have to worry about my points being correct. So I'll just go from there, and then I'll go in and I'll do my little tails again. And then one more time just to stick with everything else. This is 1/8 of an inch larger, so it'll be 7/8 of an inch. We're going to layer this on top. And again, freehand that banner in there. Okay, so let's put this down on the front of the card. So and then I have foam adhesive here, so I'm just going to cut some of those off to pop up this 5. And I buy it in the roll and just cut it to the size I need because I find that so much easier. Now if I wasn't waiting for it to show up, I would tie a piece of gray baker's twine around this as well. The image here, but it's not here yet, so I'm waiting. We'll do it that way. So we'll put him roughly centered on there. And then this one, I'm going to pop it up as well. Okay. And then all we'll do for the inside of my cards is the same thing I always do. I'll go through and I'll just pick out a piece of paper. I'll go with this Harlequin one because I like it. And I will follow the same measurements I did for my first layer. So I will cut it at 4 1/8. I'm going to do it this way to make sure that I'm square. By 5 3/8. And I'll take a piece of white. I'll cut it 1/2 inch smaller, so it'll be 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And what I'll do is I'll adhere the white onto the Harlequin here. This in the center of our card, and it will be done. And there you have it, everybody. A cute, simple little card. Thanks for watching. See you soon.